Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday Tea with Elsa and Atlas as well in this case. It's so good being home. It's fun getting back in my routines, having horses in all the normal places. The light is a little funny today. I don't know if the sun is hitting me just right through the walnut tree. I'm not exactly sure how this camera, maybe if I come up here. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about the light too much. You guys are here to see what I'm talking about, not what I look like. So Atlas and I were working earlier today, and we were considering a little bit of a question I was asked last week about drive and draw. Drive and draw are two ways that horses talk to each other. I believe horses talk to each other with movements, not words. Obviously, they don't speak English or German or Russian. They speak with their bodies. And so they speak with their body by either moving closer to each other or moving farther away from each other. And I think this is happening all the time. So, Atlas has some hay behind me. He's going to eat hay while we have tea time here. I'm going to drink tea. He's going to eat hay. And we don't think of drive or draw existing in this situation at all. But right there where he looks away from me, he's feeling a little bit of drive from the fact that I lifted my teacup or the fact that he just got overwhelmed by my presence. He's going to back off a little bit. He feels a little bit of drive from my presence. And then that hay is right next to me. So because of the environment, because of the hay, he's going to shift his head over and eat the hay next to me. And he's going to feel a little bit of draw into my space. Drive and draw really is that simple. They either feel like they want to get farther away from each other or they feel like they want to get closer to each other. And the interesting thing about that is that I find human beings like draw way more than they like drive. But I actually think drive is the basis for good draw. So I talk about leadership a lot in the training I do. Leadership is simply the ability to make a decision that someone else agrees with. Most of us are familiar with the kind of leadership where you make a decision for someone else's body. You tell someone else what to do, and if they agree with you, well, then you're a leader. I add to the spectrum all sorts of personal decisions. What kind of decisions do I make about my own personal body? And how does that affect the horses and the people around me? Do they accept those decisions I make for myself? Do they agree with them? Do they like them? And this is a point I wanted to make about drive and draw. So drive and draw is obviously a decision we make for the horse. We decide, we tell the horse we would like them to go farther away. We tell the horse we would like them to come closer. That's how people normally think of drive and draw. But I want to look at it in a lot more subtle form. And that is, when would the horse choose to draw to you? When does the horse choose to be driven away from you? And the reasons for that are either environmental, like Atlas has got food behind me that's going to draw him right into me. But it's also the decisions I make for myself, where I put my body, how I put my body, when I move my body. All those personal decisions are going to affect how the horse feels drive or draw. So Kristen, yes, the basis for draw is drive. And actually, the way I came up with this theory to begin with was watching mares and foals. We all have this, or most of us have this very idealistic vision that when a baby is born, it follows its mother everywhere. And actually, in my observation, that's not true. When a baby is born, it's actually very independent. It pretty much does whatever it occurs in its mind to do. And the mother spends the first couple of days pushing that baby around, pushing the baby to the left or to the right, or moving it around through drive. It's only after a couple of days of being pushed around by the mother that the baby starts to then follow. And this is the really natural sequence of things. Now, as human beings, we skip right over that part by putting a halter on a horse and teaching them to lead. Okay, we teach them to follow the feel of the lead rope and follow us. We just don't love pushing them away. We want to just skip right to the part where we draw them closer. We also skip to it by giving them lots of food rewards. I mean, obviously that's what I'm doing here with Atlas. He's got a food reward for continually drawing closer to me and the camera for tea time. I'm not going to deny that's part of the process. We love draw. As human beings, we love to have horses draw closer to us. Now, here's what I've seen, and that is that if you do not have enough drive to support the draw, you get stressed horses. You get horses that pin their ears. You get horses that are angry. You get horses that have some fight instinct in there because they don't have enough drive to support the draw. And this is one of those things I actually learned the hard way with Myrna. If you guys watch that first movie again, you're going to notice a bunch of parts in the movie where Myrna's got her ears pinned. And that's because I didn't know as much then as I know now. And I stimulated more draw than we had drive to support. And when that happens, you get fight instinct. You see it a lot in Liberty Acts where there's been a lot of food reward training where the timing has maybe been a little bit off. Horses really pin their ears. They'll do all the things that are asked and they draw to the person that's doing the act, but there's some anger involved there. Now, some people will think of that as play, some people won't think of that as fight, and everyone gets to decide where to draw that line. I'm not going to draw that line for you. For me, I don't really like it when my horses pin their ears. So it's really important to me to balance the drive with the draw. And so Christian says, I just think when my horse pushes me, I get to know I was too boring to him. And then I decide to give him a task. So, that's another way of looking at it, is if you are too boring, they need more decisions to be made. And often those decisions have to be about sending the horse away from you. Because if you just draw the horse to you over and over with your decisions, you'll find that the ears do pin back more and more of the time. Now, I think there's a reason for this. And the reason is that horses understand that drive has to be the basis of draw. So if you don't want to drive your horse, it leaves an empty space in the relationship where the horse feels they have to drive you. Somebody has to drive somebody. And if you don't want to be the one doing the driving to build that stability in the relationship, well, the horse feels like they have to do it. And the horse is going to go ahead and pin their ears and feel like they can drive you a little bit to create that stability in the relationship. Now, of course, there's as many different varieties of personality as there are people and horses out there. So every relationship's going to look a little different. When I speak of this stuff, I'm speaking in generalities. I know. What was interesting about that snort that Atlas just gave me is I made a really sudden movement before that, and he startled a little bit. And then it was really good to hear him kind of blow it out and get rid of it. That startling movement that I made felt like a little bit of drive for him. And then he thought about it. He was able to take a deep breath and let it go, not take it too personally. So yeah, Julie, somebody needs to be driving. But in freedom-based training, we are talking about quality over quantity. We're talking about quality over intensity. Just because somebody needs to be driving, somebody needs to be pushing away, doesn't mean it has to be mean or nasty or dominant. It just has to be that the desire to move away is in balance with the desire to move towards. So, yeah, Julie, you do see those pinned ears when horses are following someone and they're being led or they're playing that stick to me game. You see it a lot. Somebody needs to drive and the horse feels like that basis wasn't built strong enough in the previous hours, weeks, months, years, whatever. And so if that basis of drive hasn't been built, the draw ends up feeling a little bit of weakness unless somebody takes the job. And often horses will step up and take that job. So in freedom-based training, we talk about quality over quantity or quality over intensity. And what that means to me is when you push a horse away from you, your feel and timing needs to be such that the horse feels better because of the decision you made. There's a couple different ways you can drive a horse away. You could move in such a way that they just think they want to be a step farther away from you. You could threaten them so that they feel like they want to get away from you. There's all sorts of different varieties. I could go into a whole bunch more than that. Teza says, can leading from behind be a form of drive? Absolutely. So when you're leading a horse from behind, they are perpetually moving away from you and you are moving towards them. It's a very subtle, very kind form of drive. Well, depending on how you do it, of course. So thank you, Pippa. It is fun to be here with Atlas again. He's my favorite tea time partner. He's very steady. Julie says, maybe the retreating back makes them think they are driving. Maybe. I'm not sure. But the point is, regardless of why they think it, could we offer them balance? And the balance that I want to offer horses is when you step away from me a step, it feels really good. Not, I have to step away from you because I'm afraid what's going to happen if I don't. But I am happy to make a little bit more space between us and feel good about having a little bit more space between us. And that's the quality over quantity or quality over intensity. If you can link that drive with a good feeling, you don't have to do so much of it, or you don't have to do so much intensity with it. And I think that this is one of the things that mares and foals have. That foal is born and it just kind of wanders around. It has no follow to begin with. And mom really gently nudges it this way and nudges it that way. She's not trying to, punish the baby for not following. She's just directing it to the left, directing it to the right, but specifically directing it away from her body or away from her nose, not towards her. She lets the baby kind of gravitate towards her when it's ready. She doesn't ask for that draw. She asks for the drive, and she lets the baby decide when it's ready to draw. And I think if we could use that a little bit more in all of our training with horses, if we could use that little bit of drive, could you go over here? Could you go over there? Not that I'm punishing you, not that I don't want you, just that I want to be able to push you a little bit to the left or the right away from me until the natural instinct is for the horse to say, I want to be closer. Can I draw closer? So yeah, directing is a little bit friendlier way to think of it. But we have to watch out because as humans, we really like to direct the horse to come to us. We love draw. And I'm not going to take that away from you. Everybody loves draw. There's a reason I have a pile of hay right next to me that draws Atlas right close to me while I'm having tea with you guys. I love draw. The key is, can we balance it with drive? Can we have enough situations where we direct the horse a little left or a little right away from us so that their natural instinct is to want to come back to us, just the way a mare does with a foal? This is something that is counterintuitive. As human beings, as horse trainers, we think if we want the horse to come closer, we should ask the horse to come closer. But if you can set it up the other way, so you ask the horse to go do something, and then you let it be the horse's idea to come closer, you're going to find there's way less pinned ears. There's way less anger. There's way less stress. It's just really natural for a horse to want to draw towards you after it gets pushed away. You don't have to do it with intensity. You don't have to have a round pen. Those things speed it up for sure. But what we do in freedom-based training is we look at the quality of the action to build the relationship over the quantity or the intensity. So hopefully those are a few words for your thoughts to chew on for a while. Atlas here was glad he got to join us for tea time. He likes a little special hay in a special pile. And I'm really glad to be sharing time with you guys and with Atlas and with everyone. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wonderful morning, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, just think a little bit about your drive and your draw, and if they're in balance, and what your horse is telling you about it. Ultimately, it's the horse that gets to tell you if it's working for them or not. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.